All right, so attached to this announcement, there is a grade calculator. And so the way this grade calculator works is you're going to enter all of your grades from Blackboard, and they should even be in this exact same order in the Blackboard Grade Center. So once you enter all your grades, what will happen is it'll tell you exactly what you've earned so far in the class and what your letter grade is. So that's if you don't retake the final. You will have to guess at what your project grade is going to be at the end. But remember, the project checkpoints you can revise and resubmit. So theoretically, should be able to get at least an A on the project. But if you wanted to slack off a bit, you can see what that'll do to your grade. Like if I slack off and only get a 70 on the project, takes me down to a 79, and now I have a C in the class. So maybe I don't want to do that. I want to make sure I get at least an 80 on the project. And then you can also see here, it'll tell you what you need to get on the final exam. So to get a B, you've already earned that. So it's not going to tell you what to get on the final exam because you shouldn't take the final exam if that's all you're shooting for. If you wanted to bring your grade up to an A, now you need to get a 92, 93-ish% on the final in order to bump this all the way up to an A. And that's because that is going to take this lowest exam score of 40 and it's going to replace it with that 93, taking you up to an A. And you can see if you were somebody who already has earned an A in the class, it's going to tell you that. Like, don't bother taking the final exam. We can change these things around. If you have a score that is low enough, what's going to happen is it's going to tell you it's impossible to get a high enough score on the final exam. You can't pull it up that far. And so that's what'll come up here. So this one here, if this was your grades, it basically says you've guaranteed a B and you can't pull up your score enough on the final exam to make a difference. And that's because the way I've made these grades, just typing in random numbers, the exam scores are pretty good. So even if you pull 100 on the final exam and bring it up, well, now that's all that's going to happen. You're still at an 87. But if you had like perfect scores here, yeah. So you can play around with the grades, seeing what will happen. Remember, there are some ways still to make up participation, online work, and preparation scores. The participation, if you have classwork you haven't turned in, turn that in. So maybe you could pull this up to like a 70, just turning that in. Online discussion boards, remember there are 2 more extra credit assignments, and you can also correct and fix up things that you had done not gotten full points on previously. And knowledge checks, remember there are 2 extra credit knowledge checks left. So you do have some ways to bring up these scores here in addition to that final exam. So hopefully this helps out. It'll tell you exactly what your grade is now. The weighted grade in Blackboard doesn't take into account the project, so it is overweighting the exams. So for somebody with really good exam scores, it may be telling you your grade is higher than it might be if you slack off on the project. And somebody with really low exam scores, it might be telling you you're actually worse off than you will be once the project is in there. So I highly suggest, even if you're not thinking about taking the final exam, type your grades in here and see exactly where you fall in the class so you're not surprised at the end of the semester. If you need any help, feel free, stop by office hours. We can do this together.